I don't even know if he's still alive. Like, do you know, kind of a way. Um, yeah, it was a hard time. And actually, my aunt. So when I was really sick, obviously in ICU, Make a Wish got on to me brother and sister, who there was nothing wrong with. Right, my ads. No, you're not going to believe this. So while I'm fighting for my life in ICU, they were whisked off to Lapland. So they, like, I was fighting for my life and they were eating mince pies as auntie.
Stop.
No, that's not fair,
No.
Rebecca. It's not. I actually want to make a wish on to me now the next few weeks.
Did that? Oh
I
my
swear
God.
to God. Sorry, I'm just drinking water. But I think they'd like leftover spaces or something. That's how they got. Now, can you imagine me waking up, finding out they'd been in Lapland?
Do you still hold it against him?
Yeah, I do actually. No, it's only a day trip and all, but like, I mean,
Oh, but it's amazing I've been. And
is it?
Yeah.
Well, come here, Rebecca, to be honest with you now, each their own, but if my brother was as sick as I was, I probably would have said, you know what, I'll hold off and see if this one survives them.
No chance of that.
No, they needed it. As I said, they weren't going through such a traumatizing experience, like with the aftermath that had happened, where as I was blissfully asleep, do you know, the kind of a way.
And can I ask you about your mum and the baby?
Yeah, so my mum was 7 months pregnant. She had the baby. So that's what leads on to the next part. So when I was really sick in the hospital, my mum and dad, who I had, like, were never really drinkers. My dad never really trusted anyone to mind us because of his own childhood. So, like, I'd say we were babysat 5-6 times in our whole childhood. Like, so when I was so sick, the first thing my mum and dad done was go to the pub, which was not like them at all. And then they developed a really, really bad drinking problem. So the couple of years after the house fire were eventful, to say the least. Do you know?
In what way?
Just the drinking got out of hand. Like, do you know? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we were never sitting there starving. Do you know? But like, it was clear that they weren't capable of minding the kids until they got over this hurdle. Do you know, the kind of way. So then we kind of, phone calls were made by certain family members. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's no one's job to pick up someone else's pieces or their mistakes. It's not. But all I can say is, if it was one of my brothers or sisters or a family member of mine that was going through that, my first protocol probably wouldn't be ring a social worker. It would probably be, what can I do to help? Do you know? That's just my take on it. So social workers got involved and we all ended up going into care. Okay.
And how many of you were there at that stage?
So my older sister Rona is actually we don't have the same dad. She's a different dad. My mum had her when she was like 17, so she was living down the country. So it would have been me, my 2 brothers and my sister. Now one of my brothers would have been only like 6 months old, and we all went into care. I don't know how it came about, but I just ended up kind of gradually starting to stay with my nanny. So that's where I went, was with my nan. So there was problems within the whole family. Like, you know, like I remember the day that they went into care, my brother and sister and all. That was horrible, and still to this day I actually still think about, like, really get, like, and if I feel like that, I can only imagine how my ma feels, do you know, kind of way.
How many of them went into care? Did they go together or?
Well, they did. They were actually all split up, which is wrong. Come here, it's a totally different podcast. If you wanted me to talk about the fostering system or any type of social work system, come here. They're obviously there for a reason, and I know majority of them are great at their job and stuff like that. But in my eyes, that whole service needs a complete overhaul, like 100% turnaround of overhaul. Like, at one stage, I was actually banned from social work meetings because I used to run amok. I used to be like, "Sorry, have you got kids?" And no one in the room would have a child between them. And I'm like, so this is textbook what you've learned, and you're telling someone how to do things, like, you know. So I wasn't allowed to go for a while, but yeah. So that was hard, like, especially being separated. Like, we'd been reared together, and then we were separated, and a big change like the house fire. Like, you have to remember, I was coming to terms. 33% of my body was burnt. Now, the size of me now, it's probably about 3%, but at the time it was 33%. Like, I was coming to terms now with this life of, like, what are these scars like? And I know, come here, in the grand scheme of things, scars in your hands, like, you have to remember, like, there's people out there with so much worse things wrong with them. But at 12, to have 12 years of your life like one way and then to be totally changed. Like I was really over trying to deal with this. And don't get me wrong, my mum and dad were great. Like my dad would be like, I used to have to put on a special suit which was it was skin tight to try and compress your scars. That was horrific. But my dad would be like, I'll buy you €20 credit if you put it on. This is every day. And I'd be like, yeah, do you know what, I can't like great, come here, don't get me wrong. I know I'm saying we went to the foster care, but my mum and dad, we had a brilliant childhood. Like there'd be just a bit of a bump in the road and probably a big lack of support. Which probably sounds a bit bitter for me, like.
But you're entitled to be bitter.
Yeah,
you're entitled to be bitter.
Yeah, especially because my mum is the type of person that people run to for problems with and advice, and it's like, where was everyone for her? You know, this, to be honest with you, this the way I'm talking now is not in any way, shape, or form the way I planned on talking about it. So it is just kind of naturally coming, you know. But yeah, we were in foster care. That was grand, and then sorry.
Go on. Can I take it back a little bit though?
Yeah.
Did you go back into the house? Did you go back and see the house and see the aftermath?
We lived in a house in Mofia for a year.
Did you?
It was an emergency accommodation. Yeah. And we just could never settle. Like.
But did you go back and see the house? Did you see the aftermath? Did you physically see the house? You never did that.
They actually moved a year to the day. It happened on the 2nd of December, and a year to the day it was ready to move back, and they moved back. And I kind of was starting to stay with my nanny at this stage, and they just couldn't settle. Like there was just kind of too many memories, and so my mum eventually gave the house back, which with a council house is like once you kind of give it back, you're kind of like, well, you can't get another one, another kind of way. So then my mum was renting and all for years, but no, I definitely didn't go back. I just didn't really feel the need, like, you know. And
then tell me, so you go to your nanny's and the kids are all separated, and how long are they separated for, and how does your mum and dad, does the drinking stop?
So they were drinking. Every one of them was separated, and then my dad actually passed away. So he died of a brain hemorrhage when about a year and a half after the house fire, and they were both still drinking. But my dad actually had been into a few rehabs, really trying. Like, you know, he really, really did try, and he died of a brain hemorrhage. He just I was actually down the country with my older sister. And we got a phone call and they sent a guard escort to collect me, and I was like, I don't really want to go. Like, and they were like we think the hospital was ringing me as a nurse, and she was like, we really think you should. And I was like, I was 14 or 15. Like, I was like, I suppose because he'd been drinking, he'd had a few falls, and it's like you kind of just think, oh, he's drunk. Do you know, that kind of way? I didn't really think of it. And a lot of people say to me, like, do you ever regret not going up? And no, I don't actually regret it, because I was a child, do you know, and I wasn't ready to deal with that. Like, do you know, in the meantime, I'd started stage skill in town, and that was like a huge saver for me. Obviously, when home life is so like hectic and mental, to have something like that to go to, it was great. So when my dad did pass away, my mum's dad, my granddad actually rang and said he'd passed away, and I think I'd kind of felt real faint. It was kind of just a bit surreal. It was it just didn't feel right. I suppose it didn't feel right for anyone. In a way, sometimes, and I feel guilty saying this, in a way, I think because he'd been drinking, and when he was drinking, I didn't see him as much as I would have before I was drinking. It was nearly like I was eased into not having him in my life. Do you know that kind of way?
Understand.
That's probably actually the first time I've ever said that out loud as well. And like, in no way, shape or form was it easy, like, do you know what I mean? And I often think now and think how different would life have been, do you know what I mean? Because he's actually, he'd great qualities. He had so many problems himself. He had no chance of life. Like, and I know that happens a lot with people who have no chance of life, but he really, really didn't. But what he gave us was great memories for them for a few years, you know. So he passed away, and then... Was your mum and dad together when he passed? Yeah.
Okay. And how did she take it?
Oh, she was in bits, like, but she didn't give up drinking for a while after that. Like, I remember being in the church, and she was saying this while I was kind of holding her up, and I remember listening to a granny behind me. She was like, oh, that woman can't even stand, she's that upset. And I was like, she's fucking drunk. But she, not long after that, she got up. I think.
Did you speak to her, even at your young age, did you talk to her about the drinking, or did you ignore it?
That's a good question. I actually think I did ignore it. Again, when that drinking started, what I was going through my own mind, you know, like, I have to remember, I was after the house fire, I was going back to school. Like, I've never claimed to be bullied, but some kids were horrible. Like, people would be raw and crispy at me, like mad things. Yeah, like, they'll come on, like, now I know kids can be bad, but again, would never affect me nowadays. Like, do you know, that kind of a way. So
Does it not?
No, it really doesn't.
It doesn't affect you now.
No. I have a thing as well, like that. Like, my brothers and sisters would tell me a story from years ago, and I'd be like, I don't remember that. I have this knack to just, like, come here, at the end of the day, what's the point in surviving everything if you're going to live by what you've survived on? Like, you need to just move on. You have to look to the future, because if you wallow in the past, what's the point in even being alive? Do you know?
Very true.
And that's the advice I try to give my brothers and sisters, because come here, these things you can't go through these things in life without being affected. Of course, you're going to be affected, but what is the point in surviving them? To live in that moment, like, do you know? How
did you survive them?
Friends.
Okay.
So I love my friends. I've so many amazing friends, and they were there for me when my family couldn't be. So that's why, like, if I'm fighting with a friend, I've no problem swallowing my pride and apologising. Friends are so important to me, and you have to remember, I think that's probably what the rest of my family lacked, was good friends. So I already had an advantage. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's just how I survived. Where was I now? Sorry, I keep going off on tangents.
You're fine. And just talk to me a little bit, and I know this is your story, but your brothers and sisters, how were they after your dad passed?
Well, my sister took it really bad, because she was really, really, really close to my dad. She was a real daddy's girl. And she still, to this day, takes it bad. Like obviously we all still miss him, but it still really comes on her. But she's had a hard life as well. Like, we've all had a hard life. Do you know, she... realistically, being put into foster care, they should have all been kept together. They were separated, like, at such a young age, didn't know what was going on, could only see their real parents every couple of weeks and stuff like that. It just, whether or not it was for the best, a right place for a child is always with their parents. Now, come here, there is like exceptional circumstances, because I've seen it with my own two eyes, when someone is physically not able to. I just personally think maybe if my mum had a little bit more support, there could have been done differently. But come here, that's looking back. There's no point in talking like that. But they're grand. Like, they're sometimes I'm hard on them, because I want them to be the best. Now, come here, I haven't got a clue where I'm going in life, so I'm not coming down on people, but I am a bit hard on them, especially my little brother. Like, the oldest one, not the youngest one. Like, I'm a bit hard on him, but sometimes I sit there and I'm like, everything that he went through, like, it's a miracle he's even standing, never mind what I want him to be doing for himself. Do you know, that kind of way? So I think, given what we had as a childhood, I think we're all doing well, like, because then you have to remember, my mum got off drink, and which is rare, is one by one she got us all back from care. So we, like, one by one she got us all back, and then obviously the youngest he was in care since he was 6 months. So my mum seen an attachment specialist. It was like an 80-year-old woman who'd worked in it for years, and she was saying, I know you want him back, but it's going to be detrimental to that child if you just rip him out of that family. Because he always kind of came to us weekends, like, he knew we were his family as well, do you know? So we were all like, no, just fight for him. And then my mum was actually really selfless and said, I'm not doing that to him. And I couldn't understand it. I was like, what? And she didn't take him back. She wouldn't take him back. And we were like, I was annoyed. I was like, why wouldn't you? Like, you're not fighting hard enough. And she's like, no, I can't just take him out of the family he loves, you know? You're going to have me son. It's a set, like, I'm sure you understand that more than I do, because you're a parent, you know, because I was just his brother, so I couldn't understand it. So she didn't take him back, and that was a hard move. And then obviously social workers are involved in our lives, but when you hear this, so
first, where was your brother now?
So he's half home, half still. He never kind of settled. So he obviously never lived with us full time. And then what happened was, his foster dad actually passed away. I know. So not only had his real dad gone, his foster dad passed away, and we got a phone from social worker saying he's going to have to come home. So we were like, never in a million years thought he'd come home to us, and now he was coming home, which, come here, sounds great, but was a very hard transition for that child. How old was he? He was 12. Wow. Yeah, it was a few weeks after his confirmation. I was his sponsor. But he came home, so he was coming home, because the foster dad had passed away. So the foster dad, that was grand. He kind of came home, and at the funeral, I got talking to, I knew a friend, and I got talking to her, and her brother was there, and they were actually the foster dad's cousins, the foster dad's niece and nephews. That was their uncle, and that's where I met Christy at the funeral. It was Christy's uncle, was Paul. I was my little brother's foster dad's nephew.
Wow.
That's where I met Christy. Like, what are the odds? And we're together 5 years now. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, it's really meant to be, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, don't get it wrong. When he came up to me in the funeral, and I was like looking at his penny pumps and all, I was like, nah, oh. Like, and he had me on Facebook. I was like, no, he has to be joking me. But yeah. So I came out of that.
And so that's like so recent then.
Yeah.
And how is your little brother then?
Perfect, grand. Like, again, I was always a bit hard on him, and like people like he's a child, you have to remember, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what it is. Like,
why do you feel that you're so hard? You have to. Is it because you pick yourself up and get on? Do you expect that others should?
Probably, and that's not fair as well.
No.
But I think I'm just obsessed with the idea of, like, if you got through all that to do fuck all, that was for nothing. Like, do you know what I mean?
But it's okay to do fuck all as well sometimes.
It's so true. Now, come here, I'm going on like I'm running around doing everything all the time. I'm not, but there's just more to life, do you know? And again, people that have been in foster care notoriously have a chip on their shoulder. They think the world owes them something. Now, I'm not just talking about them because they'll kill me, but, like, do you know what I mean? But they all have great, like, all my brothers and sisters have, come here, we're the most dysfunctional family, but when it comes to the crunch and we're all needed, like, we're all needed. Like, when I was on The Voice, everyone rallied around me. That was actually a positive time in my life, like a really positive, like. And
before we get on to, because I want to take you back to stage school as well, but your ma was a marvellous lady.
Like, my mum?
Yeah.
She's amazing. So she fought for everyone of us to get us back. Like, I swear to God, I cannot put into words. I know everyone says about her ma, and I was even listening to one of your podcasts, Paul, do you know, Life on Number 2, like him talking about his ma. It really resonated with me. Like, my ma is just absolutely amazing. She like I said, now don't get me wrong, she's given me the fair share of money over the years as well, but she might not have always had loads of money, but she gave us love, and that was the most important thing. Like, I could tell my ma absolutely anything. And actually, just last year, she was diagnosed with throat cancer, which was a very, very, very hard time, because I know losing your dad is hard, but when you're looking at thinking of losing two parents, and probably completely selfish, saying, like, what will I do without my mum? But, like, you have to remember, she had a child at 17, she's 52 now, she's been rearing kids that whole time, she's had nothing but hardship, like, do you know what I mean? So I panicked, because I was thinking, because she was just gone through her chemo, gone through her radiation now, but I was panicking, thinking to myself, like, if anything happens to her now, like, she's died without even living, like, do you know what I mean? And that, I couldn't even let my mind go there, do you know? And Christy's mum had actually passed away a few years ago from a very similar cancer, so it was nearly like everything being brought up. It was hard for Christy, like, because I'd only started a new job, and one of my friends, Shauna, she brought my mum to all our hospital appointments. Christy brought her to a few. Like, it was a tough time. Look, come here, everyone's being touched by cancer, but it was actually probably the first time within my family I was touched by it. So I was panicking. I was like, she has to survive this. And I kept saying to her, because I feel like she was giving up. She was so sick, she was just giving up. And I was like, man, this is not where your story ends. Like, this is not where it ends. Like, you have so much left in you, like, do you know? So yeah, she's doing good. She shout out to me, ma. She is literally, do you know what she always says to me as well? The world is a better place because you're in it. And I love saying that to people, because I think it's such a nice, do you know?
I get that from you get that from you from the lovely compliment you gave me when you walked in. Don't think I'm going to air this podcast after that comment to cheek you.
I'll never get over it.
So talk to me. You said that stage school was your, like, survival, was your saviour. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. Stage school is so important, I think, for kids. Like, one of my best friends, Mark, he owns a stage school, so I eventually went there, but I started off in the Hollywood Academy in town. And it is such an open, safe space for kids. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not every child's cup of tea. Like you'll obviously have your kids into sports, into blah blah blah. It's so welcoming. It's a really important place for kids that are shy. I had these scars. I had no confidence whatsoever. I felt like I didn't deserve to be loved. I felt like people were disgusted. I wore black gloves for 5 years after the house fire. I wouldn't hold a railing on a bus. I had no confidence because of the scars. And stage school completely turned that around for me. I made some of my best friends I have from stage school. Mark, obviously, who owns stage school, he is brilliant with the kids. It's really, really important. It was a pivotal moment in my life. It's a very big part of my story because it gave me a place to be safe and to be happy and be comfortable when maybe home wasn't, you know. Excuse me. And I think that's it. It's a lot of kids that go there go for the safe space and go to be included, and it's so inclusive. Everyone loves each other. Everyone gets on. I'm lucky enough in the stage schools I went to, there was no really bitchiness. Everyone was just included. Like, I know that bitchiness happens everywhere, but to be 100% honest with you, I'd say stage school saved my life.
Really?
100%.
And because I think I had a conversation with maybe Paul and someone else about this, and maybe that will resonate with you, is the fact that you can go in there and play a different character and be a different person,
100%. And
you could step into that role and Patrick would probably move away in that moment.
100%. And all the like holding my gloves, and like having gloves on, all of that just went out the door because it's a safe space for kids who are different as well. Do you know? Because not like with football, they're all sporty, but they're all like, this is just a total eclectic, total different group of people all come together that just fit. And as you said, when you're on doing shows, it's not you that's up there. It's a totally different person. You can leave Patrick, the fella boards of a crisp side stage, and walk out there and be Paddy. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was very important. When did
you realise you had a voice?
When I was younger, like obviously doing the musical, I used to love Christina Aguilera until my voice broke. I couldn't sing. Actually, when I was on the life support machine, after the house fire, all the Filipino nurses were like to my mum, does he like music? And she was like, does he what? And they were like, you need to go get his favourite music and play it. And after a few days of playing Christina Aguilera's album was when I started to move.
Oh, really?
That sounds real dramatic, doesn't it? But yeah.
No, but
it was her album Stripped had only come out and I had it on repeat. So so that's what we played on repeat, and I started to move.
What's your favourite song from the album?
Soar. It's an album track, so not many people know it, but I do love the album.
What's it go like?
No, I'm absolutely not. I wouldn't even try sing Christina. I'd be like, hey. Back then I could sing, but I can't sing her. But she's Whitney Houston as well. I was great, like most people, do you know, like most kids, their dads are like, they grow up in like the Rat Pack. My dad loved Whitney.
Oh,
he was like a gay man in a straight man's body, 100%. My dad was the same size as you, tiny.
Was he?
Yeah.
I can't believe the height of you. Where'd you get it from?
Well, my ma's tall, but her family are tall as well. Yeah, I'm 6'2", just as well. Because if I wasn't tall and this weight on me, I'd be like a bleeding blimp.
And bring it back to me again about the voice. So did you do singing lessons? Did you get a trained voice?
No, so just in the stage school you'd kind of do group singing lessons, you know what I mean? But I never really trained. And then I remember my friends were like, you need to apply for it. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. Excuse me. I actually went to the X Factor boot camp when I was 16 and I hated it. It was really, really tough. Like, they'd slice your throat to get past it, you know what I mean? And I was like, come here, if that's what you have to do to be a singer, I don't want to be a singer. But the Voice of Ireland, obviously, people always say to me, why'd you go for the Irish one? Like, it's smaller. It was perfect for me. Someone with no confidence who could gradually build that confidence, do you know what I mean? I went in with, again, no confidence, and my confidence grew. Obviously all the coaches turned to me and I picked Eowna. So Eowna Healy from the Saturdays, she was probably the best thing out of the whole show for me, because she brought me to London after it to record and write and stuff like that. Like, it was amazing. The Voice of Ireland, the budget is so much smaller than the UK one. So obviously the production values are never going to be as big or as good. But for an Irish show, like the way the people in that show worked were absolutely incredible. And it was the best experience of my life. Like, am I selling out 3 Arena now? Absolutely not. But I never went in with that intention. Do you know what I mean? I just went in to build me confidence. And then I kind of became Bucky's favourite to win, which I hated, because I feel like more often than not, when someone's favourite, they don't win. And I made some great friends, made some lovely people. Obviously met Eowna, done a song with Brezzy. He's sound. It was a brilliant experience. I wouldn't change for the world. Now, being signed after was hard as well, because you're kind of in contract, and when you're a TV show winner, you're what's the word? Why am I going blank? You're kind of
contracted.
Treated. Yeah, no. When you're a TV show person, you're treated like that. Whereas I felt like if you just don't treat me like someone that's won a TV show and kind of develop me as an artist, but sure, I hadn't got a clue. I had no manager or anything, and you don't get a manager. I hadn't got the foggiest. I didn't even know what per diem meant. They'd give you a few bob like every day when I was away. They'd be like, "Now per diem here." What's that mean? Because I worked in Duns.
Yeah,
I worked in Duns before the Vice, and I loved it.
Yeah.
If Duns could match me wages now, I'll be back tomorrow. I loved it. They were so, everyone in Duns were amazing during the Vice as well. And Duns are notorious for not really letting cameras in or anything. They let the cameras in. They sponsored me to get me money to get t-shirts and banners and everything like that. Like that was, it nearly feels like it didn't happen now, but it was a great time. And then obviously to win it, like, do you know,
what does that really feel like? So let's talk a little bit about that. What does it really feel like to see, and especially after the life that you've had?
Yeah.
And you have had a life, you know. So after the life that you've had, and then to have like the country or the city or, you know, behind you.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, because they kept saying to me, Dublin person has never won because it's notoriously country people that watch RCA, like. And I was like, oh, when they kept saying to me, I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, do you know what I mean? And then, like, I'd be walking down the street. Like, I remember one time I was in New Look and someone was roaring at me to sign their receipt, and all. I was like, oh my God. I felt like Brad Pitt. I was like, right, girls, calm down. But yeah, I loved it. Like, I really did. People didn't know, come here. I forgot about. No one would even care. But for that little time, I enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? And as well, because it's Ireland and it's an Irish show, it's not too big either. Do you know? I don't know how I'd cope with the likes of X Factor or like big youth shows. Do you know what I mean? And
then when you did win, I should have given you a glass of water. Apologies. When you did win, like, is there nerves going into it? Is there, you know, what is that like?
It's like his annex and all.
Really?
Yeah, I was there. What? I was like, so the first day, what happened was I was the first person to audition. And I was waiting around for hours, and they were like, right, sandwiches and soup. I was tearing into the sandwiches, and all of a sudden they were like, right, Paddy, you're singing. Now I'd half a chicken and stuffing sandwich hanging out of my tooth. I was like, sorry, can I let this digest now? Now I need to go. I was like, you're joking now. I thought the whole time I was singing, I was like, this butternut squash soup is going to come up my throat all over the stage. Do you know when I was at the mill because I was starving? So I was nervous, and then the battle, so we had to take his annex, and I was nervous, and I was kind of, I actually was, just before the Vice when I was working in Duns, I was actually started to get really bad anxiety. And my sister would have problems with her mental health, and I would have always, like you just said, I'd be really like, just get on with it. So when I started getting these kind of anxiety attacks, I was like, oh my God, I'm being punished. Like, this is being punished for me not understanding, you know. So when I was on the Vice, that was kind of a struggle. It would get to the stage where, like, I know you'd find out, especially if you look at me on the Vice, I was even fatter. Like, during the weekend, you'd have your rehearsal on the Saturday and the show on the Sunday, and I wouldn't eat either of them days. I somehow got into my head that if I ate, I'd have more anxiety. Don't even ask me now. But I just got that. But Brezzy did see me one day in the makeup room, and he came up to me after and he goes, Paddy, like, it was someone like with talent like you should never feel like that. Well, I was like, what? Like, thanks very much, but what am I supposed to do? Right, Paddy, don't feel like that. Like, it just doesn't work like that, you know.
Was that a hard pill to swallow after the advice you give everyone else in your family?
I was like, oh. Yeah, no, that's what it really was, a hard pill to swallow. And that's why I was like, I'm being tortured now because I'm real, like, just get up and get on with it. And like, it wasn't as if I was sitting there thinking about my life. It was just coming over. Like, being in a queue used to be a really bad trigger for me. If I was in a queue in a shop, I'd end up having to leave, and I was like, what is that? And it happened to me as well when I was in the cinema as well. The film hadn't even started. The whole place was open, and someone sat really close to me, and I was just like, had to leave the cinema.
How does it feel? Like, I've talked about panic before with people, but for you, what did it feel like?
Just fuzziness. Like, it was just kind of constantly fighting it. And the girl actually on the Voice, her name was Kat Mahan, she gave me advice when I was on the Voice. She said, because anytime I would have a bit of an anxiety attack, straight after I'd feel really, really calm and really zonked, like I could nearly go asleep. And she was like, when I was telling her that, she was like, well, here's advice for you. If you know in 5 minutes you're going to feel that calm, just let it happen.
Yeah.
Stop trying to fight it, because you're battling it and you're prolonging it. Just sit there and say, I'm feeling like this. In 5 minutes time, I'm going to feel zonked out of my hands. And she was so right, it's the best advice she ever got me. But I do think the reason I got over being that anxious, now to me, don't get me wrong, like I didn't suffer with it in a huge way, like it wasn't.
Stop doing that.
What?
Stop doing that. Do you know that you do that?
What?
You keep saying, don't get me wrong, I know others.
Yeah.
I know someone. They have a...
Yeah, because I don't want it to be like a pity party.
No, but don't do that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're entitled to this. You're entitled to... They're your valid feelings.
Yeah. No, I know. They are. But I suppose what I want to be like is I'm very grateful for the position
And
I'm
we
in.
know... And I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I think what really got me over was when I met Christy. He, even if we broke up tomorrow, which won't be happening, Christy, so don't get any ideas. But even if we broke up tomorrow, even if he hurt me bad, I'd never be able to say he didn't do that for me. Because he really, really gave me, like as cheesy as it sounds, I now know that I deserve to be loved. I'm good enough to be loved. Like being a fat as well is a huge thing. Now come here. All I do is want about being fat, but I'll do anything except for not eat. But like you feel kind of like, why would anyone fancy you? Question it. If someone says you look great, you're nearly saying they take the piss out of me. But Christy has given me, because Christy's so sure of himself and he's so confident in himself, he's passed it on to me, do you know? Like, so he's definitely the reason I get over all that.
Do you save your life?
100%. Now, I don't want to give him that big of a head, but he really, really did. Like, because as I said, making you feel like that, feeling loved, like, what I found so attractive about him is he's so sure of himself. I mean, like, he is unapologetically him. Like, you might not now, come here, every single person loves him. I swear to God, I've never met a person that doesn't like him. But he doesn't care. Like me or love me, that's who he is. He's a really genuine person. He's the type of person that makes me want to be a better person. Do you know? And I think that's a lovely trait in him. Do you know what I mean? He's very. Do you know who he's very like? Me dad.
Really?
Yeah, because he's very. A lot of him reminds me of me dad. That probably sounds a bit sick, does it?
No, it doesn't. It sounds lovely.
Yeah, like he's a lot. Good. Dad's good points. Christy has them all. Like Christy's a busybody. He loves clean and loves running around. Whereas now, if I won the lotto, I wouldn't work another day in my life. Catch me on a cruise beside you. Well, Christy would. Do you know what I mean? We're total opposites, but that's why we work. Do you know? I am so lucky now. Like, do you know, now obviously with coronavirus, I couldn't gig, so I sang obviously full time. And my friend actually works in a dentist, and she said they're looking for someone to do reception and kind of train up in the nursing and stuff. That was a year ago, last week. So I'm a dental nurse and I do a bit of reception in the dentist, training in house, and I love it. Now come here, I talk on there. Being a dental nurse, you just suck the spit out of someone's mouth. You have no idea how much a dental nurse works. They are worth their weight in gold. They do everything, scrub a room for a patient, get everything ready for the dentist. A dentist can't be a dentist without a dental nurse, do you know? But I remember the first time I done dental, I actually assisted a dentist. It was an old woman, I can't say her name, but I'll never forget her name. And she'd 4 teeth on the top and they were swinging in the wind. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, Owen. Like, let the teeth go into the light. It's time for a denture, right? So you have a little suction that does the spit and a big suction that does like anything they're going into the air. So I was like that. My hand shaking, and the dentist was like, bring it closer. And as I put the big suction near the teeth were blown. I was like, if I go a millimetre closer to these teeth, they're gone.
Please don't tell me they didn't go.
No, right? So I was that nervous. I was like, please, and here she was, right in. The dentist was, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to pull her teeth out. Like, and what am I going to do? Like, it's going to take me wages and all. So because I was so nervous, I put the big suction down beside the tongue. The tongue went up the suction, right? Yeah, one was that old that when I was trying to pull the suction off the tongue, the whole body was coming off the chair. And the dentist is just sitting there with her mouth open and saying, like, what in the name of Jesus are you doing? Someone said to me, why didn't you just turn the suction off? I never even thought of it. Yeah. I tore the tongue off your one.
Oh, God.
I just wasn't able, but I love it now. Do you know what I mean?
Good.
I do, I like it.
Talk to me about then, again, I'm just going to take it back a little bit. Talk to me about, do you know who you remind me a little bit of? You remind me a little bit of Sarah from Ballymun Hun.
Oh, I love her. I actually follow her on Twitter.
You remind me a little bit of her because I feel a little bit that maybe, do you use humour a little bit to hide? Like, do you slag yourself first like Sarah does so no one else could slag you?
100%. Like, growing up as a fat little gay and then a fat little born gay. Like, you have to. Do you know what I mean? I try not to say things too personal anymore as well, because I'm an overthinker. Now, there's good sides and bad sides to an overthinker. Being an overthinker, you're very, really wrong.
Okay.
I spot, if someone, say if you invite me for dinner, I know straight away the second your mind changes to when you don't want people there anymore. I know, I overthink everything. But it is a bad thing as well, because you overthink everything and you dissect every single thing. Do you know what I mean? But I just, come here, we all use humour to deflect, do you know? But yeah, I suppose I do. I suppose most people do use humour, but I definitely would slag myself before someone else would get a chance. I'd say you're on the money there now, Rebecca.
Yeah, I do it myself. I'd say something about myself rather than someone else say it about me. But we shouldn't.
Well, come here, what would they say about your perfect?
Oh, stuff. I wish. The slagging you gave me a Also, then talk to me about what is it like then to win, and it was huge in Ireland at the time, The Voice. What was it like then? Everyone noticing you, everyone recognising you, and then boom. Or did the bum hit? Did the bum hit? Or
I was grand, to be honest, I was grand, because I went to, I think some people enter that competition thinking they'd be living in Hollywood by this time next year, but I always knew, I was like, it's a smaller production show. At the very most, it's a stepping stone. So I didn't go too high with my expectations to be let down, do you know? But you do go from like kind of people coming up to you, and it slowly and gradually stops. But I suppose what I learned from The Voice probably was more what I didn't want to do with my career more than what I did want to do with my career, do you know? But like singing, like there was a time where I was like, yeah, I want to be a famous singer. But now I'm happy with my relationship, I'm happy with my friends, like singing and doing it and having a job and buying a house. We'd love to have kids like that. The price of a surrogate. You're not renting your room by any chance, are you?
My room's too old for you.
It is, and it's not only a baby. But so like, at one stage I would have been like, oh no, I don't want that now in my life. I want to be travelling. I want to. But now I'm like, I suppose when you're all young, we all say like we want to be rich, we want to be skinny. We want to be that as well. We want to be rich, a singer and famous and stuff like that. But you kind of just give up on that, don't you? Now, come here, that's not saying now if anyone's listening and want me to travel around singing on a cruise, maybe. I wouldn't say no, but you know what I mean? Like a normal quote unquote life is very appealing as well. Do you know?
A happy home.
Exactly, a happy home. And do you know what? I'm so obsessed with having a home, because from as long as I can remember, I haven't really had that. Do you know what I mean? So and it was just move out of this house and give it to me, because it's massive.
And as well, your home was taken away from you.
Exactly.
And that's probably on your mind as well.
Well, see, we've no photos of me when I was a child and everything. God. Yeah, that's crap. And it's hard as well with me dad being dead, because we don't have many photos with him. Do you know? Because they were all destroyed. Like, so that's a bit crap. Do you know? I think I've won like an I'm a baby in it and all, but I'd love to have more photos. Oh, come here.
And can I ask again, just taking it back to the fire, are you after that and to this date in going into a venue, going into a cinema, going into a pub and looking for fire exits, looking for all of that, or are you not there at all?
To be honest with you, I would always say no, but in the last few years it's like I'm thinking more of it. Like I am looking at that. Like I remember I went to a rave one night. It used to neck me going to a rave, and everyone was like drunk. No one had a care in the world, and I was like, "There's one set of stairs in and out here," and I was like, "I have to go. I can't stay here," because all I could just say was, and I was locked. Like, do you know what I mean? But I was like, I was just too nervous. I was like, "There's one way in, one way out. If anything happens here, we're all dead." Like, do you know? I suppose, yeah, it is something I would think about. Something I'd be paranoid about. It's definitely so. Let's just put it this way. I'd rather die than go through that again. I wouldn't go through the pain of my skin and how long it took to heal. And
do you remember it? Like, do you really remember?
Yeah, I do remember. I remember that bat filling up with blood every time they took 10 bandages off. And my dad standing there with tears in his eyes, and I was just like, just get it over and done with. Like, and I suppose, like I said, I have this thing where I can just put things to the back of my mind like they never even happened. Like, to be honest with you, if I hadn't got scars, I could probably totally forget about it. It's the only thing that reminds me, do you know what I mean? But one thing I will say now, because I didn't wear t-shirts until 2 years ago. Me and Christy went to Rome, it was torture de grace, and I washed long sleeve tops. I thought I was going to pass out in the Vatican. I thought the Pope would have to come down and give me mouth to mouth. Like, I was in bits. And then it was Christy again. Jeez, I'm really giving him a big head. He was like, Paddy, like, who cares? Like, they're scared. He's like, you're with me, what do you care? And now it seems stupid. Do you know what I mean? But back then, I just wouldn't wear t-shirts. Like, I never would. Like, and then when I started wearing t-shirts, like, there was no stopping me. But you know, like, that paranoia, that being different. Like, let's face it, no one wants to be different. I think all I ever wanted in my life was just to fit in and blend into the background. No.
Says you going on the Vice too.
I was just about to say,
Jesus Christ.
Me being like loud, like walking into a house, like, like I never even met you. But you know what I mean? Like, I suppose more, not even into the background, normal. Because I had the furthest from a normal childhood. Do you know what I mean? So when I seen people that were normal, like, I kind of was a bit more jealous. Like, people growing up in Darndale now, not normal like the way they used to all go to the Sunshine House. Did you ever hear of the Sunshine House?
I went to the cheeky.
Well,
now, what are you going to say about Sunshine House?
I can tell you came back from there with knits. True or false?
Probably not, no.
You did? The whole of Darndale come back with knits. They'd be walking.
I went to Sunshine, and I actually fought to go to Sunshine House.
Yeah, we were never allowed to go, but only because we were going on holidays. Now, we used to go to Scaries on holidays now. Scaries. Like, 15 minutes up the road.
Get that.
But we loved it. Like, never, like, to us, that was fine. Do you know what I mean? But
it's
yeah, we were never allowed. It was a different life, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, now, like, kids want so much. Like, I look at my nieces and nephews and my godkids and my friends' kids, like, they just have everything. Like, everything.
But I think as well now, Darndale, and I do want to do something along the lines of a feature of Mofew, Prizewood, Darndale, because there's such good people in Darndale, there's such good people in Prizewood, there's such good people in Mofew, and there's so much coming out of it in community-wise. You know what I mean? Amazing.
What other places in Dublin, I won't mention because I'll be lynched. There's the community, the sense of community in the quote-unquote disadvantaged areas, even like the likes of Town, Dublin 1, Darndale, Mofew, Prize, with all that, like, they're the type, they're like, do you know what to say, it takes a village to rear a child. That's what they're like. Like, in Darndale, if I came back from school and my mum and dad were on the way home from shopping, there would never be a worry like who's going to see the shop, because one of them would just take you in. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're losing that. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, but as I said, people are so obsessed with shining a bad light on these places when there's such goods. Like, not being smart. That documentary they made on Darndale was a living disgrace because there was no good light shown in it. And as you know, there's so much positivity coming from it. They get a lot of funding because of the area, and they use it so wisely. And they're the salt of the earth. They're the nicest people. And
that's why when I do hear people saying, oh, we're a deprived area and all, and I was like, but you're not the only one. There's so up and down the country is a deprived area, but it's about you and how you pick yourself up out of it.
100%. And we wouldn't notice any difference because everyone was the same.
Everyone's the same.
So I never felt deprived as a child. I never felt like we'd less. Do you know what I mean?
And my friend had Levi's, and I nearly killed her when I wore my Levi's for Christmas, and Lisa Conway, she knows who she is, and she got the Levi's for Stevens's Day that I got for Christmas Day.
Well, at least you wore them the day before.
No, but
you won, bitch.
No, but she was like, oh well, I got something more expensive for Christmas Day. Do you know what I mean? To wear.
Well, I never owned a pair of Levi's in my life. So do you know what I was just saying? We didn't notice. Well, now I'm starting to notice. We had nothing. I was in pennies.
Can I ask you then just about your mum? What? After the throat cancer then, like you said there, that she hasn't lived.
Yeah.
What life do you want for your mum, or has she lived since, or?
She's definitely starting to think more about herself. She had this guilt after everything that happened, because you have to remember, my mum and dad made huge mistakes, and my mum's the only one picking them up, because my dad decided to fuck off. Do you know what I mean? And die. But she has this guilt, but having cancer, it totally changed her. She's like, I think it's obviously something like that when you're told like you could be dead.
Is she a smoker?
Of course, she's given up smokes a few years ago. Like,
okay.
So she's like a totally different person. So now she knows what she wants to do. She knows she has to think more of herself. I'm like, man, there's nothing hold you. Like, all your kids are over 18 now. Like, excuse me, go where you want to go to Lanzarote. Go where you want. Like, do you know what I mean? She had to get all her teeth taken out for her treatment, and that was very traumatising for her because the radiation was in her throat. So she got dentures and all. Like, so she looks brilliant. Now she lost a lot of weight. Like, at one stage when I was 20 stone, she's about 7 or 8 now. Like, real jealous. And
I was about to ask.
Yeah, like she's drinking Ensures.
Yeah.
Like, I long for the day someone says you need a meal supplement on top of your dinner.
You need a good stew.
But she's really getting back to herself, and she is a changed person, and she realises now, like, again, not like I'm going on like I'm Oprah, but what's the point of me ma surviving all that to just die? Like, live your life. Like, you don't owe us anything anymore. Some people might think you do, but you don't owe us anything anymore. Like, you've given us the tools and you've given us the love that we need. It's our job to mind ourselves now, so you go and enjoy your life. Life is too short. Like, you could literally be gone tomorrow. So I hope she not that she has the money to fly to Lanzarote, and she needn't ask me to pay for the flight.
Has she seen anyone?
She actually is. She has a partner, Al, the last few years. So she's happy and all. Do you know, the kind of way? I never have a problem with seeing anyone or anything. Like, my dad said, 15 years. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Now, if I died, Christy's not to move on. So can you hear that properly? Christy has not to move on.
You'd be like he goes to a seance or something and you'll come through telling him do not move on.
Absolutely not. I haunt him.
That's terrible.
I'd be like that film P.S. I love you, but I leave like threatening letters.
Do you know who you look like? Do you know Aaron Castle off Instagram? He's a huge following in the UK. I'll show you him now in a minute.
Oh my God, yeah, because he wears a back. Yeah, because he's fat, has a beard and wears a hat, Rebecca. Now, do you know that comment I made when I walked in earlier? I don't take that back now.
You deserve that now, you don't know. But no,
no, he's actually a lot skinnier than me. I'll take that.
Stop that with the fatness. Stop
I know,
it.
I'm always confident about it.
And career. So in your life then, tell me if you can, like your highest point and then your lowest point. Now I know you've talked about the baths and the fire, but other than that, has there been low points and high? What's your high point in your life?
Yeah, like I suppose there was not a low point, there was a low time when all that was going on. Do you know? And like, don't get me wrong, like I know that sounds horrific and all, but if I get away with this life with that being the only low point, I suppose I'm lucky really. And the high point is, are you ready for this? Cheers. This brie, meeting Christy.
But you can see that.
Yeah. Do you know what? Don't get me wrong. Being in a relationship, as I'm sure you know, the biggest part of a relationship is compromise, and I don't like to compromise. So it's hard, and a relationship takes work. And anyone that's out here saying we don't fight, we don't, like, that's an absolute lie. Now, we did very rarely have big fights, but we'd quarrel. Do you know what I mean? But that makes it all the more better. Do you know? He is such a good person. Like, I genuinely.
Where's he from?
Clondalkin.
Okay.
So he's from an area like where I'm from. Do you know what I mean? So we've the exact same sense of humour, and like I know for a fact, we're going to get married, and you'll have to come to the wedding.
Thanks. That's write it down.
that's a mind for you. But yeah, he is a high point. But then again, I've loads of high points. Like I've amazing friends.
I was about to ask. Tell me about your friends.
So I've loads of friends. Like I've more friends than I can count. But I've a good few close friends who know who they are, because I'm not mentioning them off because I missed one.
Yeah.
But I've great friends like who just really, really, really love me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I said, that there was times when my family couldn't be there for me, and it was my friends that were there for me. So I'm so lucky. I suppose to me, the most important part of life as being a human is who you share it with. So yeah, I have Christy, and he has his friends, and I have my friends, and I love his friends, he loves my friends, but we have a separate life. Whereas I think a lot of time with gay couples as well, their life's kind of blend. But I like having my separate life. I like having my friends, he likes having his friends. Do you know what I mean? Because you basically need somewhere to go and bitch about him when he does your head in. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, no, I'm lucky. I have a great friends, and of course I live with me nanny. So my nanny, I live with her since I'm 12. It's just me and her there now.
What's her name?
Marie. No, I just call her nanny. I was like, what's her name? She has a fella. She goes out with him on a Saturday night, and she is gas. She's my best friend. Like, I love her, and I'm terrified I'm going to be the one to find out that, because I live with her. I will absolutely snap.
Does that go through your head on the daily?
100%. The heating is in her room, and I remember one day I was real hungover, and my nanny's up to cracks on, and I was dying. It was like, say 9:30 or something. I turned the heating on, and she didn't move, and here was, oh my God, I'll go back to bed and I'll deal with it later. Isn't that desperate?
You thought that woman was dead in the bed?
No, I knew she was alive, but
and you're winking down at me, and I'm like,
excuse me. You're like,
told you, unedited here now.
I know, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the relationship with your nanny, and is that your mum's mum?
Yeah, it's my ma's ma.
Okay.
So I've always been really, really close. We're best friends. Like, it's sad, isn't it? But she's great crack. She really. I remember when I first started meeting Christy, or started seeing Christy, she'd be like to her fella, "Oh, Paddy's friend," and I was like, "Nanny, it's me fella."
So tell me about that. Did you tell her you were gay? Like, how did that?
Yeah.
Did she know you were gay?
She was never ever. She was always accepting, but she used to always kind of be like, I had a friend Jessica Sheeky from years. I'm still friends with her. I'm actually going to her wedding a few weeks, and we always said when we were older we'd get together, like, and I don't know, like most people do. And my nanny still, up till about 2 years ago, used to be like, "Now he always said he liked Jessica Sheeky." I'd be like, "Nanny, like, give it up. I'm with a man." But she loves Christy now. She calls him Christopher. She doesn't like the name Christy.
Fair play to
Even though
her.
that's his name. I'm like, "Nanny, call her that." No, she loves him.
My friend Natalie, so she's the same. So Yui, the two of them were always together.
Yeah.
And her nanny was the same. She'd be like, no, she'd say, "He's a lovely fella." "Oh, Natalie, I'm delighted for you. He's a lovely fella." But Natalie'd never tell Biddy that he was gay. I don't think she ever did tell him he was gay. But she would be like, "Oh, he's lovely." But they had a pact as well. And obviously Yui went and got married, and then Natalie went and had a baby, and it didn't happen. But I'd like to think one day that they may still come back together.
You do? You're as bad as me, Nanny.
But tell me about your nanny then, with you and the fire, and I'm not going to keep coming back to that, but in those initial time that you moved over to stay with your nanny, what was that like, and was it that then just the two of you as well? Or?
No, it was her uncle, her two sons were living there. So my dad died in January, her son died in April, and our other son died in May, all because of alcohol addiction. So it's a big thing that runs my family. I love a drink, but would never. Well, I suppose never say never, but I definitely, I can't have a hangover. I don't know how to do it. So they all kind of died very close, and I was there. So that was kind of another thing I had to kind of deal with as well. Do you know what I mean? So I suppose I kind of became the son to me nanny. Do you know that kind of way? Like, come here, I'd do anything for me nanny. She was so good to me. Like, people say, "Oh, your nanny, like, looking after her." She looks after me. Like, do you know what I mean? She goes away with her fella, like, to go on holidays, and I come home and there'd be 10 ready meals in the fridge, and I'd be like, "Nanny, like, that's €50 and I'm not eating them." So, like, stop. No, she wouldn't go out without leaving me dinner and all. Like, she's so cute. Or, like, sometimes she's not feeling well, she'd be like, "Up and get us a bun burger and chips." And like, a hamburger and chips at McDonald's to her is like a big deal. Like,
oh,
she
really?
loves it. Yeah, she's real cute. And she milks it.
Isn't it mad though, again, that I don't know, and maybe because it's not in my family now, as in my immediate family or in my friends' immediate family, but alcohol was a huge problem years ago.
It really was.
And I don't know, is it a huge problem today? Do we just not know about people with it? Or
yeah, I think there's a lot more help if you're addicted to drugs than there is alcohol. But I think alcohol is just as big as a pandemic, epidemic, whatever way you want to call it. You know, that kind of way. Christy actually works with drug and addiction and homeless, and so he'd see it a lot and all. But I think you're actually right. I never even thought that, because I don't actually see alcoholism as much as I did. It's hard. Like, when I do see it, it breaks my heart. Like, especially when I worked in Duns, I worked in Georgia Street, so we get a lot of kind of homeless people coming in. Break your heart. Like how little do you have to think of yourself if you think that's the only life you can live? Like, do you know what I mean? That's why my mom always says, she's like, "I'm so proud of you because you know your worth." And it's only in the last few years. Like, you have to know your worth. Like, you have to, you deserve better than that. But come here, people turn to alcohol for all sorts of issues, do you know, that kind of way. So no one can judge, and no one can even really have an
do you
opinion.
judge?
For alcoholics?
Do you judge anyone?
I'd like to say no, but yeah, I do. Everyone does. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, everyone does. Everyone's be like, "What?" Do you know what I mean? Everyone's be having a bitch. If anyone says they're not having a bitch, they're a liar. Do you know what I mean? But you can have a little goss, or you can have a bitch and be malicious, and there's two very different things, and there's a very fine line. Do you know what I mean? Like gossiping is part of human nature, but I would never be horrible about someone. Do you know what I mean? Especially for things they can't change, or, do you know? And
do you think that's because of the life that you've had?
I think it's because of my ma. That's what the way she, because my ma's the most. If you rang her, my ma tomorrow and said, "I've done this, I've done that," she'd say, "We come down and I'll talk to you, and she'll work it out." Like, do you know what I mean? She'd never judge her for it. Like, do you know that kind of way?
I know you said there at the top of this conversation about the fostering system. I got a DM yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, an email yesterday, I think the day before, from someone who works in the fostering system, Natasha, and she's a lovely girl, and we're going to do a fostering podcast. We are going to sit down and we're going to talk about the system.
Yeah.
We're going to try and speak to someone who's gone through it, and we're going to try and speak to someone who is foster, because she said that people don't understand what fostering actually is and how they can help.
Exactly. Like, excuse me, I always think like about fostering. We'd love to do it eventually, but it's a system that I nearly don't want to be part of. But then you have to remember, if you do it, you're saving a child from that system. Do you know, that kind of a way? Like, as I said, come here, obviously there's a need for it. Of course there's a need for it, but it definitely needs to be changed. Like years, because I went to my nanny's, I didn't have a social worker that came out to me actively, but I had a thing called a YAP worker. Okay. So it's called the Youth Advocate Programme, and it's a normal person. Her name is actually Yvonne Wall, and it's a normal person that they work 15 hours a week, and she used to come out and just bring me out for something to eat and stuff like that. Now at this age, like for 14, 15, 16, I was like a 20-year-old, you know what I mean? But she was amazing with me. She was amazing, and you need people like that. I think for kids who have a lot of crap going on at home, the likes of me and you, like a normal person who is from an area that maybe they're from, I think that's amazing, and I think that's invaluable to a child, to have someone that feels like there's no point in someone going in and going through rule books with a child. I think you should go in and say, yeah, do you know what, that actually happened to me, and this is how I coped with it, and this is how I can try and help you cope with it. Do you know what I mean?
Would you ever consider working in it?
I'd love to do, but I just haven't got the brains for college. I can really spell my name.
Don't underestimate yourself, though.
I would love it, because I'd say it's very fulfilling. Do you know? Fulfilling. The way I said that. Yeah. Fulfilling.
And I think on that note we might leave it there.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you want to tell me about in your...
Thanks very much for having me on the podcast. This is my first ever podcast.
Is it?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So I'm a podcast virgin. You just took my podcast virginity.